Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome everybody to our webinar celebrating our 12.0.1 launch. We've really come far this year. We released 12.0 about 6 months ago, and we're really excited to share with all of you what we have to close out the year with much more features and a lot more functionality. These are just our standard disclaimers. We will show you some forward-facing materials, so just note our standard disclaimer here. So anything forward-facing is subject to change, but we do have some surprises for you later on in the presentation. And of course, let me first introduce myself and all of the rest of the wonderful speakers that we have with us today. I am Barry Rosen, and I'm a Senior Director of Product Management, and I cover the Domino and Same Time portfolio. And I have with me the wonderful Luis Girigay, a Senior Global Director of our Technical Advisor team, and Agnes, a Product Manager who covers our mail portfolio with Verse and the Open Mail client. So today we're going to cover a couple things. We're going to do this a little bit differently than we normally do. We're going to directly debunk some of the myths that are out there. You know, recently there's been a lot of talk in the market about Domino, what it is and what it isn't. And actually that's a very good thing, because when our competitors are talking about us, that means that we're doing something right. So we're going to talk about some of the things that we're hearing out in the market, and then we're going to talk and show you about what's new in 12.0.1. All right, let's take a little bit of a poll. You know, we want to get some idea of how long you've been working with Domino. This definitely is a little bit of a range in terms of how long you've been working with Domino. I have personally been with the portfolio for over 20 years. And so definitely have a little bit of experience with Domino. I can see those answers coming in. It's really great to see. We definitely have a large distribution of folks, and it looks really good that we have some people here who have newcomers as well as people who have been here for a long time. This is great. So just to get started, we really want to show you that, you know, this is not a legacy product. Legacy products don't run in 40% of the Fortune 500 companies. This is just a small selection of the Fortune 500 companies that are running their business on Domino. What that means is that they have unique applications that they've written on the Domino platform that are running their business. And as you can see, we're spread across all industries and all geos. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Luis to talk about some of the other things that our competitors are saying.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for that little quick, overview on, how important it is Domino to all these great organizations around the world. So, guys, as Barry said, my name is Luis Girigay, and I lead our technical advisor organization globally. And again, like Barry said, we wanted to do something different here. And what we wanted to do different is to go back and tell all the competitors that basically, guys, stop saying things that are not true anymore, right? Like, for example, they are saying that Domino applications look old. They are saying like Lotus Notes and the associated infrastructure or other business do not meet modern UI standards. Domino is not strategic. That's another big, misconception out there. They are claiming that, every single company out there is actually abandoning Domino, or that Domino doesn't meet any of the modern standards in terms of not only UI, but also infrastructure. And finally, and this is the one that kind of makes me laugh the most, which is Domino is not secure. Whatever product I sell or whatever product I have, we are the secure platform out there. So let me go through some of these, or actually let me go through all of these one at a time. So next one, please. First, there was a paper published a couple of months ago where they were saying like Lotus Note this, Lotus Note that. Guys, we have not been Lotus Note since 1995, right? We're called ACL Domino today, and it's a modern solution. In fact, one of the things we have done just recently is we have certified Domino to be a cloud native deployment. You can take any Notes application today, or every Domino application today, you can make it mobile, you can make it web, literally without writing a single line of code. And last but not least, Domino apps look very, very modern. And just to give you an example, what you see on the right is two different screenshots. The one on the top is a company that they sell an ABC product. They took an existing Domino application and they redesigned it and they made it look like that. Again, that's what you see on the top right corner. Now, what you don't know about this is that they spend hundreds of thousands, if not probably millions of dollars, to redesign the application, to migrate the data, to rewrite the business logic. That's a lot of work. But now, if you look at the bottom, that same application just having the UI redone, just basically have that application modernized. Now look at the interface. Again, I'm not a UX person, I'm not a UI designer, but I would actually argue that the Domino application actually looks much, much better than the other application developed on another platform. Now, what about some migration horror stories, right? Just like you saw in the previous slide, we had an organization that spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to go from point A to point A, because at the very end, they came up with the same solution, just written on a different platform. And most likely, they cannot even do the same thing that they were able to do with Domino. But what about other situations out there? For example, there is a very large US-based financial institution that they actually spent close to $2 million, actually $1.8 million to be exact. And they got to a point there, they were spending all this money. They were still not achieving the same functionality they had on Domino. And they got to a point where they said, guys, this is it. It makes no sense to keep trying to migrate to another platform where after all this time, after all this money, we still cannot achieve the same functionality and the same benefits. So again, this is a company that basically said, okay, now we recognize that Domino is the best tool for the job. There is another company in Germany that, again, they were under this claim that, okay, Domino is not strategic, we have to move away from Domino, blah, blah, blah. And they actually hired a consulting company. And they went to the consulting company and they said, hey, look, we have these Domino applications. We believe that Domino is not strategic anymore. So can you please recommend us to, what we should use or what we should go to in terms of migrations? Well, this company, this consulting company, actually came back and recommended 12 different platforms. And I'm going to say that one more time. They recommended 12 different platforms that all together would be able to replace what Domino was doing as one single product. So if you work for an organization where you have a CIO or a CTO, and more important, a CFO that is looking at the cost, it's looking at the TCO and the ROI, I would say go back and ask, does it really make sense? Are we migrating because of a technical, challenge, or just because of a marketing perception? Because what you will see in the next couple of minutes will show you that any misunderstanding about Domino that's out there is not a technical limitation. It's just a misconception in the market, because when people keep saying that Lotus Notes applications are all, it is not true. Number one, we're not called Lotus Notes, it's called ACL Domino. And number two, you will see some really cool examples of what Domino applications look like today. So for example, when people say Domino is not strategic or Domino is not modern, I have to go back and say, wait a second. From the deployment / infrastructure point of view, did you realize that Domino actually runs on every single cloud out there? In fact, Domino is completely cloud agnostic or platform agnostic. Domino runs on Google Cloud, on AWS, on Azure, on OpenShift, on Kubernetes, on-prem, hybrid. It's completely your decision. There are so many companies out there that are being forced to go to a specific cloud vendor because the platform is saying, or the software vendor is saying, oh, you have to come to our cloud so you can run your business. Like, no, 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 no. With Domino, it's completely your choice, whether it's cloud, on-prem, or hybrid, or whatever cloud vendor you want to use or you are already tied to, we will absolutely be more than happy to support that. Now, what about debunking that myth for all UI and legacy UI? What you see on this screen right now is two different applications that are actually Domino web applications, and they are using a little bit of, like, for example, the Google material design, or at ACL we also have our own UI kind of a framework that we call ACL Enchanted. So we're using a little bit of that, and it's using JavaScript, it's using React components. So it's a very modern UI, it's a very modern interface. And once again, right, this is not about what Domino can or cannot do. Domino can do everything you ask for. It's more about having the proper, design skill set and having someone to kind of, hey, this is what I want the application to look like. And then in Domino, it will be piece of cake to actually achieve that UI, that interface. Here is another example. I show you a few minutes Domino web applications, but what about Domino applications designed for the Notes client? That's another huge misconception, that all Notes applications have to look exactly the same. Once again, what you see on the screen are two screenshots of Notes client enabled applications that are now running in a web browser using ACL Nomad Web. On the left, a traditional type of application, very clean, very modern, very minimalistic, where all the content on the left and the actual documents on the right. And then on the top right corner is another screenshot of a beautiful executive dashboard, again, designed as a Notes client application, but now running as a web interface using ACL Nomad Web. Here is another one that I actually, back to that white paper I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, this vendor said, oh, in Domino, you cannot create a workflow application that, give you the full workflow in a travel type of use case. Well, that's kind of funny, because when they published that white paper just a few weeks prior, we actually developed this amazing demo application that is a complete coverage of a travel request use case type of workflow using the Notes client, or in this case, using Nomad Web. You go into the Notes application or into the Domino application, you create the travel request. The moment it is approved, now Domino actually integrates with a third-party travel booking system and brings all those in-policy options for you to actually book the whole thing from Domino without ever having to go to a third-party platform. And what you don't see on this demo is actually that a lot of the expenses and notifications are actually integrated with other systems, even like Microsoft Teams, right? So if you go back to our Domino 12 launch earlier this year, you can actually see how we are sending notifications into other platforms and allowing to interact with Domino applications back from the third-party platform. And the other screenshot is another beautiful demo application that we have developed to show our community the power of responsive design in Domino. And yes, you heard that right. Even when you design using traditional Notes client techniques like formulas and commands and forms and views and stuff like that, you can actually apply responsive design techniques and make sure your applications not only work on a Notes client or on a Nomad Web in your desktop, but also on a mobile device. In fact, let me show you. Now, before we hit play on this video, I want to tell the story. Think about a government organization that they had a Notes traditional application, kind of working on their desktops. But part of the job of this city was to have inspectors, driving around the city, kind of keeping track of safety or cosmetic situations that would affect the quality of life of all the citizens, right? So for this one, what we did again was to solve a business problem of inspectors driving around with a piece of paper, taking notes, writing addresses, taking pictures on their cell phones or camera or whatever, and now take that into a notes application. Now let's hit play. So this is my iPhone. I have quite a few ACL applications here, and one of the applications I want to show is the traveling expenses application, because you saw how that application looked on a ACL Nomad web client. Now this is exactly the same application, but now working on a mobile device. And again, it might be a couple of minutes, it might be no code at all, or it might require a couple of hours just for you to readjust and take advantage of these mobile controls like the one you have at the bottom right, for you to make it look like a true mobile application. Now, let's go back to my use case. We call this the Metropolis City Improvement application. And again, this was an application that only worked on a notes client, and city inspectors had to drive around, come back to the office, and start moving all those reports into the notes application. So what we did in this case was just to take that application, make it available mobile, okay? So now when these guys are driving around, they just need to pull out their cell phone, create a report like the one you're doing right now. We select the severity, we decide what type of category, like whether it's safety or verification or something like that. We actually track the GPS coordinates, so you don't really have to type the address anymore. And of course, let's give it a title here. It looks, this is a tree on the sidewalk. So in this case, I'm gonna either take a picture or select one of the photos. Because I already have the photo here, let me go ahead and select the picture I'm looking for. And yep, that's quite a big tree on the sidewalk. So we better fix that and not affect, the citizens of Metropolis. So now that you see the ticket has been created, so now let's say that a manager also on the same app, it's looking at evaluating all these requests. I can go back to this, a report. I can change the status, like this is now on the review. I can even click on the GPS, right, on that little GPS icon, and validate that, okay, perfect, this is where that picture was taken. So I know this is exactly the place I need to go to, or send my crew to go ahead and remove that tree. Now, this application, another really quick win here is that we can make this application work as a completely offline application, because there might be situations where these guys are driving around and they're in a place where reception is not so good, or the internet signal is not so good. So with one tap, I took the entire application and made it a mobile/offline application. And you see that now, that icon, it says Metropolis City Improvement on my device. So now let's see what it really took for that application, that mobile application, to be real. So number one, it only took 3 forms, 1 view, and 1 frame set. For those of you listening to this webcast, if you are a Domino developer, you can now realize that 3 forms, 1 view, and 1 frame set is like nothing, right? It's something extremely simple to do in the Domino world. But let's look at the achievements. With those 5 design elements, you were able to achieve GPS, Google Maps, camera, photos, biometric security, because I don't know if you remember, but when I first opened the application, the first thing you saw was, my iPhone doing my face recognition authentication protocol. So I was able to, access the application, access control list, offline access, local encryption, everything in just 4 hours. Okay, so we took an existing notes application, we created a complete mobile option, for these city inspectors in less than 4 hours, just by using a few design elements, and of course now being able to take advantage of all these amazing features. Now, one thing I want to clarify here, we're not counting how many hours it took for somebody to decide, this is the logo we want to use, these are the colors we want to use, this is what the application should look like. Because if I'm honest with you guys, I can create some very complex business logic in workflow, but sometimes will take me quite a few hours to decide what shade of blue I want to use on the bottom. So Let's make sure that I don't oversimplify this. Less than 4 hours, right? But somebody from the UX team actually told us this is what the application should look like. Now, another thing we want to do here at ACL, and I need to highlight the disclaimer from a few minutes ago when Barry originally opened this presentation. Part of the challenge when you look at Domino applications is the UI. And we understand that not every single organization out there maybe have access to a group of UI or UX experts. So for that, we're looking into this project within ACL where we want to make sure that not only when you create new applications, they look awesome from the very beginning, but even if you have some existing application that might need some love, we at ACL, again, are looking at this way for you guys to modernize any existing application in the less amount of time possible. So for that, let's play the video. We call this Project Restyle, okay? And Project Restyle is basically a Domino application that, in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and create a new application, but you will notice that when I first create an application, I actually ask you what type of application you want to create. I'm gonna hit next. Do you want to create a notes client application? Do you want to create an application for Nomad Web? Do you want to create an application for a tablet or for a phone? Or guess what? I want to create an application that will be accessed through all these devices. Based on that selection, our intent is to provide a library of templates and designs and colors, right? That when you hit next in this case, and after you set up the proper security that you will see just in a few seconds, let's actually wait for that. So you can select the security settings for that application. You can give it a name, put the Domino server, select the Domino server you want to use. But again, back to my point, you as a developer, when you go through this very simple wizard, you actually end up with an amazing, good looking application where you can now start putting your own code. And again, this is an intent. This is a project for everybody to start developing amazing application, good looking applications in minutes. Now, what about existing applications? Well, exactly the same approach. I decide what type of channel or delivery mechanism I want to use for this application. In this case, I only selected web, tablet, and smartphone. I get presented the themes or styles or library of designs that are available based on those selections. And then the next step is to decide, okay, which is the application I want to use. I'm gonna go after my Domino server. And once I select the Domino server, I'm gonna go ahead and select the application I want to modernize. I'm selecting this application called Asset Tracking System. In this demo, I don't show you the before and after because it's kind of not the point here. But once you select the design, once you select the application you want to modernize, then you decide you want to apply these changes live on the production application, or do you want to create a copy of that application for you to kind of go back and make sure it works as expected. Because remember, we're going after an existing application that probably have a lot of validations, a lot of custom code, and we're modernizing the entire UI. So there might be some situations where you might need to go back and kind of verify and check that everything is working as expected. So that's kind of why our recommendation will always be, do the a QA testing option first before you go into production. I cannot say this enough, guys. This is still a special project. It's not live yet. However, we created an idea in AHA for everybody to go there and vote and actually give us your comments and feedback. When we came up with this idea, we actually talked to multiple customers, multiple ambassadors and business partners, and everybody kind of came to the same conclusion that, oh my God, this is awesome. This is something that we will absolutely use. So now that it's kind of getting, better or kind of more real, now we need the official feedback from everybody out there for product management and from development to actually make this a reality. The final topic from my presentation, and then I will pass it back to Agnes and Barry, is security. And in the last 2-3 years, where the world kind of changed, I think we now realize even more how important security is for any organization. And with that, again, I want to make a few statements here. Number one, if you are using Domino today as your application and or messaging platform, you could be using it for both or maybe for one of the use cases below. Or if your organization is looking at migrating, to another platform, I want you to spend just 5 seconds and look what this slide says. 85% of the organizations using this specific vendor has been victims of a security incident. And again, this is not ACL saying this. You can go to this website, Business Wire. Once you get the presentation, you will be able to download it and click on the link. But this is an actual third-party organization doing all this research, and they found that, yeah, 85% of the organizations running on this platform has been hacked at some point. Now, the bad news don't stop there, right? If you just spend 5 minutes and you start Googling, and using the kind of the right words, you will find that there is a lot of press. There has been a lot of incidents, right? Like, for example, in Germany, they actually made it illegal to use these platforms because of data privacy concerns, right? Because again, they are getting hacked almost every day. And by the way, guys, I'm not making this up. As I was building this presentation, look, a new threat came alive. New Microsoft Exchange credentials stealing malware could be worse than phishing. This is from December 14th, 2021. So again, security, it's something that we here at ACL Domino has a proven record of being one of the most secure platforms in the world. In fact, there was an organization that not long ago, we haven't made a public reference yet, but there was an organization that just a few weeks ago, they were hacked, and they said to us, we were hacked. It was a major security incident, and Domino was actually the one and only product that could not be hacked. So when a vendor goes back to you and says Domino is not secure, or we are more secure than Domino, I want you to go back, look at these 2 slides, or again, just go to Google and find the truth out there. With that, I'm gonna pass it to Agnes to get now for you guys to actually see what's new in 12.0.1.
Thank you, Luis. So, in the beginning of this webinar, we talked about security and app modernization, but that's not the only two things that we want to do and we have done. Another mission for us is to keep you connect with the world. So now I'm going to walk through some of the amazing features in Nux 12.0.1 to see how we achieve this. Even though you can develop most of the workflow apps on Domino, sometimes there are exceptions which you want a third-party app. One of the best examples is online meeting. Our work style has changed a lot since last year. Everything moves from offline to online. In the past, you need to take an 8-hour flight to meet a customer, but now you can just enter a meeting link in your browser and start the presentation. With this dramatic change, we want to help you embrace it and provide you the best user experience to cater the need. Therefore, Domino Online Meeting integration is introduced in this release. As you can see in the slide, Domino's allows you to integrate the meeting vendor that you are using with Nux client. You can add an instant meeting link with one click when you schedule a calendar event. The integration covers major meeting vendors, including Zoom, GoToMeeting, SameTime, Teams, and Webex. And this is a two-way integration. The meeting that is created will also be shown in your meeting vendor calendar. In the following video, we will show you how you could configure the integration in 2 minutes. So let's take a look. In the video, Thomas and I were actually talking about doing a demo. So now I'm trying to schedule a meeting with him using Zoom. I have the recipient and meeting time. And what I need to do is to select Configure Dynamic Meeting Services in the dropdown. The next step is to get the OAuth token. By clicking the button, it will bring me to the Zoom page. Again, just fill in the credentials. And choose Pre-approve this app. And click on Authorize. Then now you are directed to an HCL hosted website to get the token. Copy and paste it in the dialog box. And the token is now validated. So now if I close the dialog box and try to send out the invite, I'm going back to my calendar and check the event that was just created. And I can see that the online meeting link is right in the field. So like I said, this is something that you can do in 2 minutes. I didn't make any changes to the speed of video, so it is just 2 minutes. So try it out today. And with this integration, you don't need to copy and paste the meeting link from your meeting vendor into Nook's client anymore. Another great features that we want to talk about today is the document property box. This feature has been one of the top voted ideas in AHA, and in this release, we integrate with Panagender for the advanced document property box. You can search the document fields, and it is easier to locate the fields that you want in a resizable document property box. So here is the functions and features that you will get with this advanced property box. And in the future release, we will also add more languages support to the property box. So now, with all these features, I'm going to hand it back to Barry to talk about the server-side feature as well.
Thank you, Agnes, and thank you, Luis. Great stuff there. So let's drill down a little bit on what we've done on the server side. You know, and Luis really talked about security and how important it is, especially from the mail perspective. So what we're delivering in 12.0.1 is DKIM outbound. And so DKIM is an email security standard designed to make sure messages aren't altered in transit between the sending and the recipient servers. It uses public key cryptography to sign email with a private key as it leaves a sending server. So what that is, and the value of that, is that having emails that are signed by DKIM appear more legitimate to recipients and are less likely to go to junk or spam folders. Spoofing email from trusted domains is a popular technique for malicious spam and phishing campaigns, and DKIM makes it harder to spoof emails from domains that use it. You know, for example, certain domains may require that the email be signed by DKIM outbound. We're seeing that more and more. So now out of the box, Domino has that capability. And of course, localization. So as we showed earlier, we have many customers in the Fortune 500, and these are international customers across industries. So we had a requirement for our international customers to be able to transfer domains, mail with domains that have either a specialized character or any kind of different script. So as you can see in the examples, that could be an umlaut to Arabic to Chinese. We will now recognize anything to the right of the at symbol that has those different scripts. And then also we will be translating 12.0.1 in early 2022 to the additional languages that we've shown here: Catalan, Danish, Finnish, Norwegian, Hebrew, Hungarian, Slovenian, Thai, and Turkish. We did release 11.0.1 in those languages recently, so that should not be a blocker for anyone upgrading from earlier releases just due to languages. So look for that in Q1 if you are on one of those languages. And let's talk a little bit about Nomad. So Nomad was one of the most exciting wows that we had for our our V12 launch. And as you can see, we're already on our 0.2 version. So just in the last 6 months, we've put out a couple of releases. And what we've included in the latest release, which is available on FlexNet today, is Marvel client integration, SAML authentication support, many performance improvements, and many bug fixes as well. And what we've got in our future roadmap is, of course, offline support, the ability to sync workspace items. So if you're starting in a Notes client and then you log in for your first time in a Nomad web client, all of your workspace icons will look exactly as they did on your Notes client. Also, printing and kiosk mode are in our backlog. So continue to look for those updates, and we'll have many of those in the upcoming year. And I just want to remind anybody who is on a release that's earlier than version 11 or version 12, there are some things. We have not officially announced the end of support for version 9 or 10, but we do want to make sure that you are aware of some of the other things that are going on with some of those earlier versions. So Microsoft is going to end support for Windows 2016 in 2022, and that is one of the supported platforms for version 9. And then also from an Apple perspective, if you're running version 9 on the Mac, we expect that Apple will end support for Catalina sometime in early 2022, in fall of 2022 as well. So what that means is that you may not have a supported platform to run if you're running on Mac in version 9 once Catalina is pulled from market. So just want a quick reminder to anyone who is thinking of upgrading, now is the time, now that 12.0.1 is in market. And just a reminder, here you go. If you want to talk to a technical expert, if you have questions about the hows of how to upgrade from a previous version to 12.0.1, you can contact us. And then if you want to look at some resources, you can do so as well. And I just want to remind everybody, you can upgrade directly from any earlier release to 12.0.1. You do not have to go to take steps. You might have to uninstall your current release and then just do a 12.0.1 install on top, but you don't have to do any kind of incremental upgrades. For example, to go from 9 to 11 or 12 to 12.0.1, you can go directly to 12.0.1. Obviously, we would recommend that you test that in your environment, but there is no technical blocker on the Domino side that would prevent you from doing that. So we would recommend that you just do your standard testing that you would do for any upgrade, but you can go directly to 12.0.1. I do want to just take a quick opportunity before we go to the Q&A just to say a quick thanks to everybody who was involved in this release. It is a big deal. It is a lot of work for a lot of people and a lot of different teams to get a release out the door, especially right before the end of the year, right before the holidays. So I want to say thank you to my team, the Domino product management team. I want to say thank you to the marketing team who has helped us promote the product and schedule this webinar and talk to all of you people. I want to thank the sales team. I want to thank the support team. I want to thank the development team who's been working really hard and weekends and long hours to get this release out on time. And finally, I want to thank all of you, the Domino customers, the ones who are interested in what we're doing, who want to know why we are still relevant, why we're still important 30 years later. And I want to just say happy holidays to all of you. Enjoy the gift that we're giving you, Domino 12.0.1. And we'll see you next year in 2022, where we have a lot of exciting things to show and talk about. And we can't wait to see all of you again in 2022. So thank you, everyone. And now let's move on to the Domino Q&A. We will take questions from the Q&A.
All right, Barry, Thomas here. A lot of questions came in, and the very first one goes to Louis. The question is, where can I download Restyler?
So I imagine that was gonna be one of the most popular questions here. But guys, so Project Restyle right now is a prototype. It's something that internally we have it working up to an extent. What we really want you guys to do is go to AHA, vote on the idea, put some comments, and it will be at the very end, it will be up to my friends Barry and Thomas in product management to decide when, how, or whether this is something we want to make available to anyone as part of the Domino platform. So just go to AHA, vote on it, and that's it.
Interesting. As we speak, we just got well, quite a few votes coming in. Keep voting for it, and we'll consider it. Thank you. Another question that came in is regarding Open Client. Someone asked when the Open Client will be available.
Yeah, so let me take that question, Thomas. So, great question. We showed our progress that we've made on the Open Client in the 12.0 launch, and we're continuing to make progress on that. So we do have a plan to release that in 2022. We would like to beta that in the second half, and then towards the end of 2022 is when we were thinking we would GA that. So that is still on target. It is still on the roadmap, and we are progressing towards that. So hopefully in mid next year, you'll start to see that in beta.
All right, thanks for that one. And another important question here from the community was, hey, what's next? What's the next major version coming after 12.0.1?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Do you want to cover that, Thomas?
Well, actually,
or would you like me to?
Yeah, just go ahead.
Sure, I'll cover it. So yeah, we do have a release planned right after 12.0.1. Well, not right after, but we do have another release plan that is in planning. We're already in progress of planning that. I don't want to talk too much about exactly what that is, but that will probably be our Open Client release. And that, as I said, that will be targeted for probably fourth quarter of next year.
All right.
Hey, Thomas, there was a question around education and certification. So let me take that one pretty quick.
Yeah.
So guys, when I came to ACL last year, one of these special projects I took on is the ACL Software Academy for Digital Solutions, right? It's something we created from scratch, but it's something I'm happy to say that up to date, we have delivered more than 300 technical webinars in less than 12 months, I would say, in multiple languages, in multiple time zones. We're also building a curriculum education team. So something that we're going to be doing in 2022 is to actually announce curriculum education for anyone that either new to the platform or actually our platforms, because this is not only for Domino, but for all the products in the ACL Digital Solutions portfolio. So in 2022, you will see more technical webinars. You will see curriculum education for all of our offerings. And we're also planning on announcing our technical certification program. I would say hopefully before the end of the year. So I think my friend Theo from Engage, he's actually in the session. I think I saw your name, Theo. So hopefully we're going to have some really good surprises for you for the time we attend the Engage presentation. So kind of free marketing for you, Theo, if you are in Europe or anywhere in the world and you want to hear more about this, make sure you make it to Engage.
And Louis, I think there is an add-on question to that because it leads right into education and training. Someone asked if you can actually upgrade from version 9 server to version 12. Obviously, that customer is running a v9 and is interested in 12.0.1. So what's the story?
Yes, absolutely. So from the technical point of view, there was an announcement we made when Domino 11 was released, which is we are going to support any direct upgrade from any release of Domino into Domino 11. Now we're back in that same statement for Domino 12. So if you are a customer running Domino 5, 6, 7, 8, I don't know if there is anyone running Domino 3 out there or Domino 4, but no matter what release of Domino you're running today, we will support a direct upgrade to the latest release. Now, that being said, there are a couple of caveats like operating system support, and there are ways to do a parallel upgrade or reinstall. So not gonna get too technical here. Go to our website in the Domino resources section, and you will see all the different ways to achieve that direct upgrade, meaning that you don't have to go from 7 to 9 and then from 9 to 11 and then from 11 to 12. No, from to 12. Now you can go straight from Domino 6 today to 12, just based on what operating system you're running, based on what source release you're running. You might to do like one intermediate step, but that's pretty much it.
Excellent. And there was a question in there, Thomas, about two-factor authentication for the Notes client.
Yes, I did respond to this already in writing. The question was about the Notes client supporting two-factor authentication. In specific, this customer wanted SMS two-factor authentication, and the answer is twofold. We have included two-factor authentication in form of TOTP in Domino 12 already, but that is for web applications. And we are working on integrating TOTP also in the Notes client. However, this will not cover SMS-based or two-factor authentication, but good news is that there are business partners out there who offer solutions that support SMS-based two-factor authentication.
Yep, and I actually did see a question of where can I get 12.0.1. It is available on FlexNet. So if you are a Domino customer, you should be able to go to FlexNet as we speak, and you will see all of the 12.0.1 packages. So that should be available for you to go and find.
Okay, Louis?
Hey, yeah, there was a question around, like young blood, right? Like new Domino developers, new people into this ecosystem. So guys, one thing I would like to share is like back to that academic conversation, we actually have more than 30,000 registrations, right? So that's a lot of people. I mean, again, it's not unique registration. I think unique number is close to 9,000 people have attended all these technical webinars. So my point is that we see the passion out there every single week, guys, and this is why we're investing in curriculum education. Every single week, we're getting requests, whether it's directly reaching out to me or people actually calling and opening tickets with support and say, hey, we just hired somebody new, or we have this team that they want to start developing Domino apps. So can we get some technical education for them so they can start building new apps? So my point is that there are new developers coming. We are seeing those requests. We see, again, every week we see requests for people that need to be trained because their company is now going back into developing a new Domino application. So that's amazing. Now, for those of you that still need help, please reach out to us, work with your business partners. If you are in a specific country, you probably are aware of multiple ACL business partners in the geo that they can reach out to us and we can help them. Myself from the technical advisor team, marketing, product management, there is a lot of things we can do for you, but please reach out so we can have more concrete details and better and more concrete ways to help you.
Okay. Let me pick the next question. There are hundreds. Sorry, we may not cover them all. A few customers were asking where can they get a trial version of Domino to try out the new features and functions?
Yep, that's a great question as well. So a couple of things on that. We did a great job, and one of the things I'm really proud of is we ran a really extensive beta program, and it's something that we've done for all of the releases. So that would be the best way as a Domino customer to get early access to the code. Obviously, 12.0.1 is now GA, and if you're a Domino customer, you should have access to that. If you do not have access to that, if you're not a Domino customer, I think at this time, the best way to get your hands on the 12.0.1 code would be through our Sophie catalog. So we do have a 12.0.1, and I believe it's the end of this week, it will be updated with the 12.0.1 image. There is a sandbox on Sophie where you can create a Docker container with Domino, and it has sample applications, and it also has Volt included as well. So if you just want to to play around with the code, that's probably the easiest way to get the latest code to play with as a non-Domino customer. Anyone can log in and play in the sandbox, just register for Sophie.
Mm-hmm. Great. Here's one for Agnes, and Agnes, I hope your audio is working out. Will Domino be included in the latest version?
Domi, I think you meant.
Yeah, Domi, the online meeting integration.
Yeah, Domi will be included in Nux 12.0.1, so you don't need to, you don't really have a separate install for that. And regarding like the Domi question, I also see that there is a question about whether Domi will be extended to Verse. Yes, we do have plan for that, and it will be something coming up next year. So stay tuned, and we will have update for that like in coming few months. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Hey, Thomas, we have been covering Mac and Windows for a long time, but I saw a question, a really good question, whether we will have a Linux client in the future.
Straight answer, a native Linux client, no, but the good news is you can use HCL Nomad Web, which just runs in the browser and of course supports any kind of operating system, including Linux. So just fire up your browser, launch Nomad Web, and you'll be a happy camper.
Nice, nice. That's good to know. And what about Chrome OS or Chromebooks?
Let me see. Well, as long as the browser supports WebAssembly, that should work just fine.
Yep. So
Awesome.
Nomad would be the recommended solution to run on some of those operating systems. Run a full notes client on Linux through a browser.
Mm-hmm.
And I did see there was a question, and I think this will probably be the last question as we're approaching the top of the hour. So thank you everyone for participating. If we didn't get to your question, we will try to answer it through a blog, a follow-up blog. If you have requests for particular features or functionality, please put that into AHA. We do look at AHA. We will look at that, and we will look at how many votes that request has, and then we will consider that for a future release. But a couple things just to wrap up on. There was a question on operating system support, I think Win 2022, and then also a 64-bit designer admin client. So we'll take those as the last questions, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, so the 64-bit designer client is available. You can download it from FlexNet. It is currently in beta, and of course, we are waiting for your feedback. So we want you to try it out. It is there. It's part of the packages that we've made available the other day.
And then the 2022.
And the Windows, what was it? Windows Server 2022 support. Does Domino 12.0.1 support Windows Server 2022? The answer is yes. It's officially on the list of supported operating systems.
All right, so I think that will do it for today. Once again, just want to thank everybody. Happy holidays. Enjoy the 12.0.1 code, and we will be talking to everyone very shortly. We'll see everyone next year.